Hi, I'm going to introduce John and Lois Souter. Both John and Lois Souter are active members of the Community Dementia Alliance of Bloomington. Lois, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up in Columbiana, Ohio, near Youngstown. We are married to John, and we have 2 sons, and then we adopted twin girls from Korea, and we have 7 grandchildren.
Wow.
And I was diagnosed in my late 50s with Alzheimer's. At that time, we lived in Florida, and I was fortunate enough to be connected with a study down for Alzheimer's in Florida. It was through injection and was on the placebo, didn't know if I had the real or the placebo for 2 years. And then I was on the real thing for 2 years. Unfortunately, they decided it didn't help the criteria they wanted it to. But we feel, and doctors feel, that it helped slow down my Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I was diagnosed, our son, Virgil, that lives here in Bloomington, invited us to move up and live with him and his wife. We live on the same property as them, so we would have support from them as needed later on.
Lois, can you remind me of what age you said you were when you were diagnosed and what age you are now?
I was in my late 50s, and I am 70 now.
Okay. So you've been living well with dementia for a little while, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
John, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm 71 years old and love life. Lois and I met in a small college in Kansas, and we've been married for just about 49 years now. Spent most of my life in some type of management, and the greatest span of time was I was vice president, general manager of Das Dutchman Essen House in Middlebury, Indiana.
Thank you so much for sharing about yourself. Today, the purpose of this call is to be able to help police cadets that are training know how to approach someone who's living with dementia, know a little bit more about people who are living with dementia and their care partners and what they're experiencing. So in regards to that, what would you want a police officer to know about you if you have to call them? And this is for either one of you to answer.
Speak slowly. And when you're asking a question, you may have to ask it more than once and even phrase it different. Because what I have in my mind and thinking doesn't always come out the way it should or how I mean it to. And just to be patient, because sometimes it could take quite a while to get out or it seems like quite a while to get out what I mean to say.
Okay, that's great advice. John, is there anything that you want would like a police officer to know about you if you have to call them or about your situation?
Well, I think that as a care partner, and I'm not quite sure how to do this, but like them know that somebody is, I'm responsible for somebody else, and that somehow they would understand that if I talk about it.
Yeah. So maybe if you give them clues to let them know that you're a care partner, and they'd be able to understand that there's someone else that you're responsible for as well.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So John, last week we talked a little bit about what an officer might look for if something's happening to you and you're a care partner for someone who's living with dementia. What would be something that advice that you would give them if something happened to you?
Well, I would hope that they would look in my wallet that I carry, because I carry a note in there explaining that Lois does have Alzheimer's, and that please don't contact her, but contact our son, who then would come and be with Lois. But I would be afraid that if they contacted Lois, that I'm not sure what would happen.
Yeah. Lois, do you have anything to add to that?
No, more than it's very important, especially if you come in the house, like on our refrigerator, we have stuff to look for that contact information and stuff to see that explains what's going on.
Yeah, you have some really great tools in place already. Lois, you had some really great suggestions about a window decal on a home or a car to indicate someone is living in that place with dementia. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, knowing that, well, we have a son-in-law that's a police officer, so we know how important it is for you to be safe when approaching a person. But if there would be some type of decal emblem that could be put on a window, door, on the doors of the house or a car window, just like they used to do, or maybe they still do for fire, like there was a child in a certain room, that you would know that you are approaching someone that has dementia, a household that has it, and that it's not going to be a normal situation.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea. So, last question I have for you is, what do you want others to know about living with dementia? Both of you, since you both are experiencing that. What would you like for the police cadets to know about living with dementia?
Well, one of the things that I became aware of early on, and that most people think of dementia at the later stages, last stages of a person, and dementia is really a journey. And I'm sure if any of you spend 10 minutes with Lois, you would think nothing's wrong, but she can take it pretty good for a while. But it is a journey, and we need to keep that in mind, because there's definitely different stages, and it affects each person differently.
Thank you. Lois, is there anything that you would like others to know about living with dementia?
Yeah, that it may take us longer to respond and to be engaged, but we're still there. We're still people. We're not just in the background. That we do have feelings and want to be involved.
I think that's a great point. Thank you both for taking your time with us today. I know that this is very valuable to a lot of people. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.